But in a nutshell, what are your views about Israel-Palestine?
I think that
we're in an elevator. We're going up. I'm getting off on the 10th floor. We're on the first floor. You got 9 floors.
9 floors.
And I say, what's your view on Israel-Palestine?
Israelis and Palestinians have very different histories of the same region that they tell themselves and they try to tell the rest of the world. I think that both histories provide ample reason for both sides to feel like they are infinitely justified in aggressing on and against the other side, and that they have infinite justification to the land or more that they currently inhabit. And I think that the Israeli story is a lot more close to the truth than the Palestinian one is.
Why is that?
Why do I think that, or why do I think?
Yeah, why do you think that? Why do you think that?
I think that when you look historically through what's actually happened, I think that when you're honest and accounting for what's going on, I think that the Israeli truth, the Israeli narrative, tends to be more accurate than the Arab or the Palestinian one. Although we can, depending on how deep you want to go, we can qualify that because there are some really bad Israeli narratives out there as well, though. So.
Yeah. I mean, it can all be true, right? Like I also think that it's possible for you or someone to be, quote, pro-Israel and still condemn and hate how they're conducting themselves in the war or in the West Bank or in Gaza. I mean, one of my issues with trying to categorize this argument is when someone says pro-Israel or pro-Palestine, what does that mean exactly? And I think in your view, what it means is the record of history is more favorable towards the Israelis. So what are the main arguments or data or pieces of evidence that make you say that? Is it the record of attempted peace treaties that Israel has put forward? Man, you're
asking me for summarizing a lot of stuff. So
give me a.
I'm gonna think of the. Let me think of the main historical.
The elevator broke. The
elevator broke. Okay, but we got firefighters are coming. Okay, they're on their way though. Okay,
yeah.
So the main historical beats. So I would say that, the first major point of contention has to do with the Kingdom of Israel and then the spread of the Islamic caliphates through the Middle East, in North Africa and Southern Europe and Southeast Asia. People seem to want to selectively draw from who was in the Levant or in the Palestinian region or in the Israeli region. People want to draw selectively from that. Jewish people lean very heavily into the Kingdom of Israel. Palestinians lean very heavily into the caliphates, and people will selectively start history wherever they want. The reality, there is no reality where we don't acknowledge that Jewish people were there first. That's ridiculous to say otherwise. And there's no reality where we say that Palestinians or Arabs weren't spread across during the caliphates up to and through the Ottoman Empire and the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, right? That's true. Both people should be able to accept that. Some people will fight really hard on even that point using genetic studies or other types of weird things. But that's point number one. I think that it's totally irrelevant to the solution today to focus on those things, but some people want to root their arguments back there. So that's one point. The second point is the origination of how, or rather the start of Jewish people coming to the Levant, starting with the first Aliyah in the 1880s. People disagree on whether or not Jews had a right to move there. Your narratives range all the way from Jewish people fairly purchased land and paid, Palestinian farmers that left, or there weren't even any there, an empty land for a people. Oh, there's a famous quote. I can't believe I'm not remembering it right now. But Jewish people sometimes would say,
what they would say is a land for a people. A land without people for a people without a land.
That was it. Yeah.
But that's a fallacy, right? You don't believe that?
No, I'm saying that's the farthest Israeli story is all the way to that.
Right.
And then the farthest Palestinian story is like, Jewish people were fleeing the Holocaust and we welcomed them from the very start with open arms until they stabbed us in the back. Neither of these stories are true at all. There were Arabs, Palestinians living throughout this region that lived there and farmed there and, were back there for generations. They didn't all just come in response to the first or second or third wave of Jewish immigrants. That didn't start in the early 1900s. They'd been there for a long time. But Palestinians absolutely did not welcome Israeli people there. That's also a lie. They fought very heavily, especially up through the 30s, up through 36 until or 39, I think, until the Arab Revolt ended. The next big beat is the Nakba, where you've got people on the one side. I don't even know how to two sides the Nakba. The stories range from basically Jews, like bloodthirsty Jewish dogs, ravaged the lands and expelled, and cleansed all these Palestinian poor people for absolutely no reason. Jewish people will say it was entirely a war of self-defense, and they didn't actually, there were no massacres. They didn't blow up a single village. Like, the people just left on their own because they whatever. The truth is very much in between those two. Your next major beat is going to be the 67 war. No, actually, your next major beat would actually probably be the Suez Crisis, I think in 56 with Egypt and Israel. Your next major beat is going to be the 67 war, where people disagree a lot over who started it, right? You said you've talked to Alain Pape. I'm not sure what his stance is on it, but it wouldn't surprise me if he believes that Israel started that war for absolutely no reason because they just wanted to grab a bunch of land. And he'll point to the fact that Israel did strike first. He'll probably point to the fact that, CIA intelligence, I think, said that, the Arabs would have no way of winning that war. He probably pointed to the fact that Israel didn't even admit to starting that war first in a surprise attack, I think until weeks after it ended. And then on the other side, you've got the fact that, the Egyptian leader, Nasser, was saying insane stuff all over the planet about how they were going to, end Israel in a fateful